Wildwood Road. Wildwood means something to me. Probably not to you. Hey everyone, it's me again. I know, 2 in quick succession. I hardly know who I am. Here's my little secret. I'm recording both of these on the same ride. So my last vlog talked about Second Life and other stuff. And just to tie in a little bit more with the Second Life thing, you know, I mentioned one of the big communities in Second Life is the Doctor Who community, which is obviously near and dear to my heart. Another big community in Second Life is there is a strong steampunk community. A lot of places where people who are into the whole steampunk thing can gather and build cities and landscapes and tell stories and create role-play scenarios. And I knew about steampunk before I got into Second Life, but since joining several years ago now, I've gotten more and more exposed to it, and it's really kind of grown on me, enough to the point now where I've actually booked a room and reserved tickets for a big steampunk convention in Vermont in a couple of weeks. So I don't know, it's kind of funny how this stuff comes around, but pretty excited for the Steampunk Festival. It'll be my first time going to one of these. I'm thinking it's gonna be like a Ren Fair, but with goggles. But I really have no idea. You know, it's not gonna be like your typical Ren Fair atmosphere where, you know, it's all contained in a field somewhere, and they, you know, it's you know, they build stuff specifically for it. This is going to be in the town of Springfield, Vermont, which, as I understand, was a mill town in the Victorian era, and has apparently some cool old buildings, and just aesthetically the town really fits the whole steampunk feel. And but mostly I guess it's just a community gathering where, you know, people get together and dress up for it and show off things that they've built and things that, you know, clothing that they've made and accessories that they've constructed. And that's the thing that's the most interesting to me, is I like the whole craft and creativity aspect of it. Steampunk, for people who don't know, is sort of a sci-fi genre, I guess, but a sci-fi genre based on things like the writings of Jules Verne. What would have happened if the technologies of the Industrial Revolution and the Victorian era had been enough to take us to places where everybody believed that they could at the time? You know, what if, you know, steam-powered lighter than air ships were actually the way to fly, and or if, you know, submersibles like the Nautilus were, you know, what all submarines came to be. The whole idea, for me anyway, is in the actual construction details of things of that era, when so much was happening in architecture and technology and design, that the function of things became the aesthetic. So, like a perfect example is the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower is something that we go to in Paris now, and we say, "Ooh, this is beautiful." You know, it's just a gorgeous thing, and you can go to the top of it and you can see all of Paris, and ooh. at the time when they built it, the Eiffel Tower was nothing more than a science project. It was show and tell. It was, look, we can make something this tall using this new construction of plates of steel riveted together. We can create a light structure, lighter than it would be if you had tried to build something as tall out of stone, lighter and stronger and more stable. And so when they built that to show off the construction technique was the whole purpose of it. And that was the case with a lot of things. You know, you wanted the mechanism of something to be visible, and then you figured out ways to make that beautiful, whether it was to plate things in brass or copper and make them shiny, or you know, cut openings into things so that you could see inside and see what made it work. And that really gets me. I really enjoy, you know, I have such a mind for that kind of stuff. You know, I love to see and understand the way things work. I love mechanical things. It's, you know, purely a functional aesthetic. You don't embellish something to hide what it is, like, you know, a modern car, for example, where, you know, you look at any car and, you know, everything is shrouded. You understand that there's stuff that makes it all work, but, you know, they're trying to keep all that stuff hidden away so that, you know, the car is just something comfortable and attractive to look at, and you just kind of crawl in and forget about all the stuff that has to go on to make this thing work. And in the Victorian era, it was just the opposite. You know, they had been coming up with such wild new ideas that they wanted to show that stuff off. They wanted you to know what made it tick. And that's the thing that I find most compelling about the whole steampunk thing is that aspect of it. And the sci-fi aspect of it is cool too. It's, you know, it's interesting to me to see, you know, just the wild gadgets that people make that sort of follow that design aesthetic of making something that looks like what it's doing. Even to the point where people take things that are modern technology and then they, you know, build a casing for it that makes it look like something older and something mechanical. And yeah, maybe that's kind of turning around and doing exactly the thing that I was talking about modern cars doing, but flipping it around, taking something that, you know, being entirely false about the look of something and making it look like a device that's purely mechanical and runs on some other form of power other than a battery and some microchips and circuit boards. That's, I guess, where the punk part of steampunk comes from. It's that punk DIY, take something and make it your own, and then get lost in the middle of nowhere again on a street that you're pretty sure that you've never been on. This is why I do these rides, though. A little piece of me kind of hopes that some of these roads I completely forget, and so every time I take a random turn like that, I have no idea where I am. So yeah, there's a steampunk thing in a nutshell. Really excited, like I said, for this Steampunk Festival I'm going to. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm booked for 3 days up there. I'm going alone. It'll be interesting because I'll have no comfort zone whatsoever. Never been to one of these things. I'm going alone and I've booked myself for 3 days. Oh man, this is not something that somebody with severe social anxiety should be doing. It'll be a good time. I'm just gonna keep telling myself that. Oh, hey, stop sign. Hey, squirrel! Run, squirrel!